Arsenal 1-0 up. He's got an open goal. Oh no, he's missed!
Arsenal with the free kick here, looking for this goal now, and it comes towards Alan Smith, glanced in there, the crucial breakthrough. So the last seconds now, and really the last chance for Arsenal as it comes through. A great break here from Thomas. It's all up for grabs now, Thomas!
When I was a player at Arsenal, I could never envisage managing the club. But to actually manage them now, won a trophy my first year, won the championship my third year, it's like a fairy tale. Well, it's nice to look back over almost 40 years of football, both as a player, coach, and a manager, looking at the good times and also some bad times, and hopefully, I'm sure, looking ahead to more good times in the future. I was born in a small village called Bargeddie, just about 7 miles outside Glasgow. Came from a very, very working class background. My father died when I was a couple of weeks old. So there were 6 of us left, 3 brothers and 2 sisters, me being the youngest, and obviously being very, very spoiled. All my brothers were all footballing people. So I really learned all my basic techniques at a very early age in the streets. I can remember, even at the age of 5 years of age, there wasn't too many cars around. And so the streets were nice and quiet. So actually we learned our ball skills in the summer, obviously in the nice light evenings, but also in the winter. And the lights used to come on to light up the streets, and that's where I first performed under floodlights. Later on in life, when people ask you to sort of control a ball or juggle with a ball, it all goes back to the days on the streets in Bargeddie under those famous floodlights paid by the council. But my eldest brother Andy was a mainstay in the family. He was the father figure for everybody.
From a very early age, we realised that George was something really special. So I decided then that I would start with scrapbook, compile a scrapbook, right from his Bairliston junior secondary days. Right through his whole career, scrapbook covers everything from he played from the school days right through his amateur international days, his schoolboys international days, under 21 for Scotland, under 23 for Scotland, right to the full international cap. It's all in his scrapbook here.
Obviously, playing for the Scottish schoolboys, you got all the top clubs in Scotland and England obviously want to sign for them. Andy actually was of the opinion that I'd be better coming down south, where they had an apprenticeship. They had a youth policy in all the major clubs in England. Joe Mercer was, he made a big impression on my family, my mother and my eldest brother. And I went down there a couple of times, and I liked the setup at Aston Villa, because they were one of the biggest clubs around at that time. So I finally made my decision, and it was going to be Aston Villa. I think when you're that age, 15, 16, and you leave home to go and live in another part of the country, it is very, very difficult, because when you're an outstanding schoolboy, and then you go and join something like Villa, you're normally the best at your school and one of the best in the schoolboy team. And obviously joining Villa, there's other outstanding kids there, so you come back down to earth with a bump again. The next natural progression there was I actually made my debut against Liverpool, the famous Liverpool. They were champions then, with Ian St John and Ron Yates on the side. And I managed to score in my debut, which was, which is another memory that I've got in my scrapbook here. Being there 4 years, it never really actually turned out as well as my debut. And luckily, I was in my stay at Villa, I was actually selected for the Scottish youth team. Funnily enough, I had a very good time playing for Scotland in the youth team, but not very well at Villa Park. And Ted Bates, who was then the manager of Southampton, asked me to come through and see the Dell and see the surrounding place, as he wanted to sign me. And looking back now, it's quite funny. I was on about £18 a week at Aston Villa. And after having a long chat with Ted, and Ted trying to sell me the club, he offered me £25 a week. So being a typical Scot, I thought, well, I'll hold out for 30. And I asked Ted for 30. And he says, no, I don't think so. 25 is as far as I would go. So I says to him, I'd let him know the following day, after having to think about it, whether I'd turn down his offer or not, knowing full well I'd accept the offer, because it was the only one I had on the table. That evening I got home, there was a message from Tommy Docherty, who was then the manager of Chelsea. So I rang Tommy, and he actually said to me, what have you been offered by Southampton? And I says, well, Ted Bates has offered me 25. He says, well, what are you looking for? And I says, 30. He says, okay, you've got it. Joining Chelsea, swinging Chelsea, it was 2 tremendous years. The start of 2 tremendous years, joining a very young and exciting team. And there was Venables, Johnny Hollands, Ronnie Harris, myself, and obviously being a single guy, living in the Chelsea, Fulham, Earls Court area in the swinging 60s, it was a very enjoyable time off the pitch as well.
I can see it now. He walked round, when he'd been signed, he walked round into the office in his silver, shiny suit, immaculate, looked like, we used to call him Big Fry. He always used to look like the guy that was carrying, always used to come in, he always used to be that sort of grin, sort of coming, hi there, how are you, deep voice, but he was always immaculate, immaculately dressed. That's how I can remember, I think, crumbs, he must be a model, we've signed a model.
Straight away George came in and he looked as if he'd just come out of Burton shop window, he always looked suave and debonair, and we all sort of struggled to look fairly smart, and George was just always looked apart, and he was like the Cary Grant of the troupe, but he always did everything in style, and he loved his Frank Sinatra records, and he was a very stylish guy then, and he's never really changed.
I get a kick every time I see you standing there before me. I get a kick, though it's clear to me you obviously do not adore me. I get no kick in a plane Flying too high with some gal in the sky is my idea of nothing to do. Yet I get a kick, yes, I get a kick, yes, I get a kick out of you.
George and Terry decided, well, I wonder if it'd be an idea if we started our own suits and our own tailoring. So they got a tailor who they knew very well. I bought one suit. Wasn't too pleased with it, but I didn't want to knock their confidence. But they tried selling the suits to the boys, and they used to wear them themselves. We had pictures taken in all the wild stuff. I had a silly hat on, I think, and a check jacket, and George was, as always, like James Bond in the evening suit. Terry with I think it was a collarless jacket. I can't remember what the other guys had. But from there, I think they wouldn't say it was one of their most profitable ventures, business ventures, not as successful as they are now.
Being the youngest, obviously, you're getting the hand-downs from your older brothers. School blazer. We start off with my eldest brother Andy, then got to my other brother Tom, then Robert, and I'd finish up. And by the time I got it, it was full of patches on the elbows, restitching the pockets. And obviously that is probably why one of my hobbies today is clothes. I like wearing nice clothes, and I insist at the club that all the players are always smartly turned out with the club uniform, well dressed on the pitch as well as off the pitch.
As a player, very dangerous in and around the box for anything put into the penalty box for crosses and things. Great first touch. He'll laugh if I say he's got blistering pace. No, he hasn't got that. That's why they got the nickname of Stroller. But intelligent and knew where to be at the right time.
I think as a player, when he was at Chelsea, he played as a striker, played as a centre forward. And he always was a good, what we'd call a target man, where you could hit the ball to him at any angle. He controlled it well, he was very good in the air. He lacked a bit of pace to be perhaps a very top striker.
I still use George now as a model, if I'm sort of coaching, heading, as to how to hang in the air. He was one of these players who had the ability to jump and stay up, apparently stay up in the air without coming down and then giving the ball an almighty biff with his head, you know, making it all look very elegant. And as I say, I still use George now.
We had 2 very, very successful years at Chelsea. Unfortunately, we lost in 2 FA Cup semi-finals, one to Liverpool, one to Sheffield Wednesday. We were going very well at the time in the league, and we had 2 games in the north of England, one of them obviously against Blackpool. I think the other one, if my memory serves me right, was against Burnley. We stayed at Blackpool for over a week, and Tommy asked us on a Wednesday evening if we could actually come back. There was a curfew on at 11 o'clock. Well, some of us thought that was a bit harsh. Blackpool being a nice seaside, very friendly place, lots of activity going on. We thought actually that was a bit harsh. We thought the Thursday night would be a good night for a curfew, so we went back to the hotel and sneaked down the fire escape, and went out and enjoyed ourselves. And when we got back, after the curfew, Tommy was waiting for us with the tickets back to London the next day. He was right. We realised we were wrong. Looking back on it now, it seems very funny, but there was quite a few managers involved with the players that were sent back, or future managers.
Blackpool night out, that's what the headline said in all the newspapers. Blackpool, yes. It was innocent fun, really, but possibly that was one of the reasons, in the end, that Tommy did break the team up. That he thought, well, perhaps they've grown up to be men now, and perhaps I can't discipline them as much as I'd like to. And from there on in, I think it was downhill.
I asked for a transfer mainly because I thought the team was being broken up, and all the best players were leaving. And the other reason was because Dave Sexton by that time had left Chelsea and was now working and coaching at Arsenal. And I had a great respect for Dave as a coach, and I worked very well with him. And when I thought there was a chance of actually joining Arsenal, I was very interested. And that's exactly what happened.
He was extremely suitable for the Arsenal at that time because he was very stylish. You know, they liked goal scorers, but they liked to see a bit of football as well. You know. And George fitted all the requirements. He was stylish, he could play football, he could score goals, he could lead the line, you know, he had a good temperament, and really was an ideal first buy for Bertie and for Arsenal.
Joining Arsenal, it really surprised me. It took me at least a couple of years to sort of fall in with their professionalism, the way they did things. Bertie was a tremendous stickler for organisation, discipline, and looking back now, he was 100% right.
Well, he fulfilled all that I was looking for, as events proved. He was an invaluable member of our double team. His abilities on the field, unfortunately, tended to give people the wrong impression, hence his nickname Stroller, that there was a certain air of casualness about him. And whilst that was very, very appropriate, at times it was a little frustrating, and one had to motivate George on a stick and carrot routine at various, every 7 or 8 games. In other words, we had to threaten him with coming out of the side and kicking his backside if he didn't put himself about. And that seemed to do the trick all right, and he had a very successful and very long career as a result of that.
Strolling, just strolling in the cool of the evening air. I don't envy the rich in their automobile, for a motor car is phony. I'd rather have Shanks's pony when I'm strolling, just strolling. The light of the moon above. Every night I go out strolling, and I know my luck is rolling when I'm strolling with the one I love.
Like all footballers, there were pluses and minuses about George as a player. The minuses really were that his fitness level wasn't terribly great. I mean, he wasn't a quick man. He's a tall man for a start, he wasn't a natural sprinter. He had an elegant style, and a style which became obviously the nickname Stroller, affectionately known as Stroller. But within a team, you needed other players around him to do probably quicker things. But he was a thinking footballer. His greatest attribute was his heading ability. And he scored vital goals for us. He scored goals in great cup games. He scored goals in normal league games. But it was the way he scored them. He had a style about him, and his heading ability in particular. He had the timing, which was perfect to actually meet the ball, and then the direction. I mean, I think back to something, say, like the semi-final goal against Stoke in '71. And I would say if you had to have a coaching film, you would just take a clip of George Graham when he rose to meet the cross, and then directed it beyond the greatest goalkeeper in the game at that time, Gordon Banks.
And although people say they called him Stroller and that was his nickname and he perhaps could have worked hard, I always felt it was he worked hard at his game. It's just that his style didn't perhaps make him seem as if he did, but he covered the ground, and he was very good, as I said, in the air as a head of a ball, and coming in late on things from crosses. I think that gave him another good factor to the play that he was doing.
Being cat for Scotland is, you know, it's something every Scots footballer, it's their ambition, and it was a big occasion for me. get my first cap at Hampden. I think it was against Portugal. Very excited about it, and had tremendous memories. I remember Tommy Docherty took us to a tournament in Brazil, and it was a mini World Cup, and we were paired off with Brazil in the Maracanã Stadium, which we just lost in the last 10 minutes, 1-0. Then we had a tremendous game against Yugoslavia. We drew 2-2, and I always remember Willie Morgan missing a penalty. We could have won that game. And then we drew against Czechoslovakia. But my international career, unfortunately, was very brief. I'd like to have got a lot more caps, but there was a lot of very, very good midfield players around. So looking back, probably I was lucky to get my 12 caps.
We got to one of those times where Bertie decided to leave George out and shake him up again, and he put him on the subs bench. And we were playing at Coventry, and the game went on. And our left half, our left midfield player, David Cord, got injured. And we looked along the bench, and George was a sub, and Bertie looked at me, and I looked at Bertie, and Bertie said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, give him a go." So off we go, we shoved George on, and he played left half. And he virtually took the game by the scruff of the neck, and everybody was surprised. And like he was using the left half as a springboard to get forward. And when he got forward free, and he could manage to get to the far post. So it worked so well that the next match, Bertie put him at left half again. And from then on in, he virtually never looked back, and it was like the making of a new player. All of a sudden, we'd got this inconsistent centre forward. The one his day was very good, but he didn't have too many days. To a lad now who's playing left half, and playing it with a lot of kind of responsibility. He got lovely touches, George, as a player. I mean, he was a super 1-2 player getting forward. He had disguise in his passing. He could look that way and pass the ball this way. And obviously, he still had this ability to get to the far post and knock him in with his head.
In the year 70, when we won the Fairs Cup, that was a tremendous achievement, and to be, 3 down at Anderlecht, and then to come back at home and win, and we won something for the first time in 20, 30 years. So then we went on to the 70-71 season with all that behind us, all that work that had been done, and in my heart of hearts, knowing that we had the nucleus of a side that could go from strength to strength. And indeed, the 70-71 season saw the culmination of all those dreams in winning the double.
If you look at the W, you'll find that I think George got about 16 goals from left midfield, which is good going. I mean, for a lad who so-called couldn't run, because everybody said, well, George Graham, good player, but he can't run. He could. He wasn't a fast runner, but he could keep getting up and down. And like I say, this left half thing had really got him going.
With Armstrong, floating it once more. Kennedy looking for it, but Webb in fact getting ahead to it first. And Webb, having cleared it to Baldwin, was streaking up the field himself. Kennedy turning it on. Webb now trying to get back as Radford turns it in, and just wide there by George Graham.
Coming up to the last game, we actually had to play we're all rivals, Spurs at White Hart Lane. But we knew we only needed a draw to actually clinch a championship. We went over there, and I thought we played a very, very sensible game. And instead of drawing, we actually scored in the last, I think it was 5 minutes. Great goal by Kennedy. And tremendous scenes. And that was the all lead up to the cup final on the following Saturday. And I always remember Don Howe, after the Tottenham match, saying, look, we've done the hard work. Because a championship is what all the professionals want to win. That is the thing to win, because you're the most consistent over a season. Cups, you can win 6 or 7 games and win a cup, but that doesn't make you the best team. Winning the championship makes you the best side. And Don just said, you've done the hard work, we've won what we wanted to win, now go out and enjoy yourself at Wembley. To take on Liverpool, they were a good side then. I thought we deserved to beat Liverpool in the normal time, but it went to injury time. And then our outstanding goalkeeper of the season made a big boob. He anticipated a cross from Highway. And you know all goalkeepers should never anticipate, especially on the near post. But we forgave Bob, we knew we could actually score another couple of goals.
Liverpool are winning 1-0. So I mean, Bertie was super with me. He used to give me a lot of kind of license for freedom to work with the players and do tactical changes. And he used to let me go with it. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, we've got to do something here. Like, I mean, we can't just let this thing fall away. And I knew the players kind of giving it all they got. So we decided to swap. I decided that we'd swap them round. We swapped George Graham from left half up to centre forward. Pull Charlie George, who was really, it was a very hot day and he'd gone. I mean, Charlie had just finished. Pull him back into left half, virtually just to stand in midfield. Anyway, we switched George up front, George Graham up front. And we're playing away, then all of a sudden there's a scrimmage in the goal mouth, and there's a lot of Liverpool players, and there's George Graham and Eddie Kelly. And I think Frank McClintock was around. And all of a sudden, like, the ball's in between the legs, and their goalkeeper, Ray Clements, comes out, and he just beats him, and he goes bobbing past him and goes in the net. And of course, George turns round with his arm up in the air, like, I've got the goal. Then Eddie Kelly turns round with his arm up in the air, I've got the goal. Well, to us on the bench, we couldn't give a damn who got the goal. The most important thing was he got the goal.
I still say now that actually the ball brushed my leg, and that's why I run away, accepting the plaudits. But Jimmy Hill has got a lot to answer for. He actually saw it from a different angle. But I can say now that I've seen it from a different angle, that Jimmy's seen it, and actually the ball did brush my leg.
So it's now 1 each, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it ain't our day. We can beat Liverpool, but it ain't going to be our day. Let's settle for a draw. Take them to a replay, which would either been at Wembley or Sheffield Wednesday or somewhere like the following Wednesday. Because with the chances we made today, if we do it again on Wednesday, we'll score 4 or 5. So we switched them back. Having got the equaliser and made it 1 each, we switched them back. And there must be about 8 minutes to go till the end of the game. And then all of a sudden, right out of the blue, the ball goes to Charlie George, and he hasn't played for the last extra time. He wouldn't even know what extra time was, Charlie. He's absolutely, and we'd used our sub, so we couldn't take Charlie off. We couldn't sub Charlie George. Eddie Kelly had gone on for Peter Storey, so our sub had gone. And all of a sudden he picks up a ball, Charlie George, and he hits this ball from about 20 yards, and it absolutely flies in. And if you see it on the telly, Charlie falls down. He scores this goal, he puts his hands in the air, and he finishes up on the floor on his back as though he celebrated. I tell you what, he was absolutely well and truly done in. You know, he done enough. And at the end of the game, that wins us the game, and that obviously clinches the double.
It was one of the highlights of my career, the Liverpool match. I did enjoy the big occasion. You know, Wembley, yeah, I think that was probably the right occasion, being televised all over the world. And I like being on the ball. And I know at Wembley, there's a lot of space at Wembley. And I think my teammates were good. They just kept giving me the ball. And it was a tremendous team effort, although I actually had a great satisfaction in winning the Man of the Match award, which holds pride of place in my trophy room.
Every night I go out strolling, and I know my life is rolling when I'm strolling with the crowd.
After being 7 years at Highbury, a situation arose where I wasn't an automatic choice, and Bertie Mee more or less told me that a move away from the club would be in my best interest, and also the club's. The way it was handled was just typified, you know, what I believe Arsenal is. Bertie had agreed with 3 clubs, West Ham, Everton and Manchester United, 150,000 fee. So I actually saw all the managers and finally made my decision in joining Tommy Docherty again at Old Trafford. Leaving one great club, Arsenal, to join another, Manchester United, it was a dream move for somebody who'd no longer had a career at Arsenal. But unfortunately, my 2 years at Manchester were, I would term them as a big failure, because I couldn't reproduce my Arsenal form.
He left Manchester United and he went to Portsmouth, and although it was perhaps getting towards the twilight of his career, things didn't go too well for him there. And I signed him at Crystal Palace to help the younger players. We was coming to a period of time where we could have got promotion from the 3rd division. It was going to be tight, but we had a good chance. You know, George joined us and he done particularly well. He done very well for us, and he was a good influence.
Graham's header.
And then he got injured. He got a few injuries. We went out one day and I just said, you know, but you're coming up to 32 now, 31. And he said, yeah. I said, what are you going to do? So he said, I've not really thought about it. I said, I'm amazed. I can't believe that you're saying that, because he's an intelligent bloke. And it's like a lot of footballers, they think that sort of age never comes, it's always in the future, and something will happen, and he wasn't as prepared as I thought that he might have been, and as I hadn't really been in touch with him so much in those last few years, I wasn't sure what he was doing. But he said he was interested in coaching, so I said, well, why don't you come and take the youth team? And of course he did do that, and he done very well. He took to it straight away, and he was very keen, conscientious, he worked hard, and you could see straight away that he was going to have a good future in the game.
The approach from Millwall first came about when I met the chairman, Alan Thorne's son, when I was coaching the youth team at Queen's Park Rangers. I met him a couple of times. He was quite impressed the way the youth setup was run at Rangers. I managed to have good long conversations with him, explaining how the youth setup should be run. And about a year later, when Millwall were actually having a bad time, they were struggling at the bottom of the 3rd Division, they sacked the manager and were looking for another one. Funnily enough, I didn't apply for the job. They actually asked me if they could actually interview me. And I always remember meeting Alan Thorne and, at the Hilton Hotel in London. And Alan asked me my philosophy on the game and how would I run the club and what would I put right at Millwall. And after telling him exactly what I would do, we then started talking about a contract. And I always remember him offering me £20,000. And quick as a flash, I said, I accept it. And he was actually taken aback, and he said to me, why did you accept it so quickly? I said, because if I'm successful, I'm going to be very, very expensive.
I'd worked at Millwall before with Gordon Jago, and one day George came in and said, I'm going to have a go at the Millwall job. And I can't repeat on camera exactly what I replied to that, but it was something like, you must be mad. But anyway, so I don't know what you're complaining about, because you're going to come with me. And that's exactly what happened. We ended up signing 9 new players, and in fact won at Chesterfield of all places by a Dave Cusack penalty by 1-0 to stay in Division 3. It was quite remarkable. From that very small, humble beginnings, of course, as you know, we got out of the 3rd Division into the 2nd Division, and then finished, I believe it was 4th, which is the highest position that Millwall had finished in the last 25 years in the 2nd Division.
I got quite a surprise one day when Alan Thorne wanted a meeting with me. And he explained to me that I'd received a letter from the Arsenal chairman, Mr. Hillwood, asking if he could actually approach me with a view of an interview for a job managing the Arsenal team, which actually astounded me, because at that time the Arsenal job was being touted around with much more successful managers: Alec Ferguson, Terry Venables, David Pleat, Graham Taylor, and I was somewhere down at the bottom of the list with no hopes of getting the job. I never even applied for it. So I went for the interview with Mr. Hillwood, and told him exactly what my philosophy and again on management was. Again, not different from my conversation with Alan Thorne, but the only thing was I didn't have the same joke about the contract.
George has a great feeling for Arsenal Football Club. He, of course, played for the club in the first place, so he was brought up with the traditions and what it means to be an Arsenal man, and there is an Arsenal way of doing things, so he was very conscious of that. And both during his time as a player, and more especially since he became manager, he's looked into the history of the club very deeply. He's collected memorabilia. So he suddenly had to find himself, George Graham, the lad from Bagedi, suddenly alongside the likes of Herbert Chapman and George Allison and Bertie Mee and Tom Whittaker. And I think that sense of history and the fact that he could play a part in the history of this club, he's very conscious of that. And he's wanted not only to emulate the feats of those great managers, I think the driving ambition inside him has made him want to surpass them as well.
When I first arrived at the club, I had a look at the staff, and I thought there was a lot of prima donnas here who had probably seen their best days. And I thought that was the time then to get the broom out and start sweeping a few out the door and give the youngsters a chance. I knew the fans in my first season would always forgive me for playing the youngsters. And obviously being a new manager, you know, trying to sort of find your feet, try players, bring youngsters in before they're ready. So the first season, I was very, very pleased. Personality clashes with any players. I just pick people on ability. I pick people on performance. And unfortunately, Charlie was not performing. And actually had a big reputation. And I like stars. It's about in the media that I don't like star footballers, but I do. I like performing stars. I don't like the so-called stars who are social stars and not doing it on the pitch.
O'Leary to Hayes. Nice play by Hayes. He's got Nicholas in front of him. He's going all the way himself. Got hustled out of it though. Just too many white shirts around him. Trying to find room for the shot, but Hoddle's corner. Some mix up there. Good save. That's a goal! Clive Allen scored! Oh, that's a tragedy for Arsenal. Well, that's what he thinks of it. But really, until this period, it's been Arsenal that have been doing most of the pressing. Still, Spurs 1, Arsenal 1, 2-1 to Tottenham on aggregate as Waddle comes away. Waddle shot, and Lukic saves with his outstretched foot there. Sansom. Quinn. Nicholas. Quinn. Vincent Davis. Thomas is also there. Rocastle. Rocastle's cross. Quinn scored! It came in at the far post! And Arsenal are right back in it, with Wembley looming. Well, Arsenal came back from the dead in the previous match. Can they do it again? Allinson being chased by Goff. He's turned, he's got his shot in, he scored! Eric Clements on the near post! Arsenal do it again! It's Spurs 1, Arsenal 1. Allinson, deflection, Rocastle, he scored! David Rocastle scored! Arsenal are in the lead for the very first this titanic struggle to see who goes to Wembley to meet Liverpool in the Linwoods Cup final.
Winning the trophy in my first season was an absolute surprise, even to me, because I knew we'd still a lot to do. There was a lot of work to be done in the team. But as far as I was concerned, it was a fast bonus, because I knew the youngsters were going to get better.
It's still Arsenal 1, Liverpool 1, and everything to play for here at Wembley. Sansom down to Groves. Groves, oh, he's skipped that challenge beautifully. Groves into the box. Nicholas is there. He gets a touch. Is it goal? Charlie Nicholas! Mr. Moores will make the presentation. And there it is, the Liverwoods Cup.
I had an idea some of the players that were in the side, more experienced players, were going to be leaving. I was going to have to reshape the whole team again. But I could see signs there, like the wonderful team spirit that I was trying to achieve, that we're going to have another couple of years of success, at least anyway. And looking back now, that was the forerunner for the success we've achieved over the past couple of years. And again, the basis for what we're going to achieve over the next few years. Once we all report for work, report for training, everybody's treated the same. And I vowed then that I would get everybody together and try to achieve this team spirit, which is so important if you're going to be an outstanding side, whether you're winning cups or even more important, championships, when you're after consistency. And I would think that's one of my best achievements over the past 3 years. I've got a bit of a reputation as a hard man. A very demanding person, which I'll admit to the demanding. I believe in professional standards. I'm very demanding on professional standards. I don't get too close to the players being a manager, although I love my coaching. I coach with the players every day. But I don't get too close to them. I keep my distance from them. Because I think it's difficult when you're wielding the axe and you may be dropping players or telling them they've no longer got a future at the club. It's very difficult to socialise with players, knowing there will come a time when I've got to be extremely unpleasant or nasty. So certain managers do it certain ways. I do it this way, and I've found it up to now it's quite successful.
The manager's got to keep a distance from the players. I mean, he can laugh and joke, but he's always got to keep a distance, because at the end of the day, you know, he might have to let you go or drop you, whatever, and he can't become too friendly. And I think that's good. A manager should keep his distance, really. It's the coach's job, really, to be that go-between and have a joke and a laugh with the players and be the friend, be the rear if they need one. Whereas the manager keeps that little bit of distance.
You've got all managers have got different ideas on the game. At the end of the day, they've got to win, and it's about getting results. At Arsenal, they say that managers who come to Arsenal are boring. But that's just something that's been going on throughout the years. They had it when Don Howe was here, saying that we were a boring team, and even when George Graham came, they said it was boring. But we scored the most goals last year, so we can't be that boring.
I'll tell you what, Bert, when we were together, and in the late 60s, 68, 69, what odds then would you have said that George Graham was going to be one time the manager of the Arsenal club and they win the league?
No chance.
That's right. Never liked hard work. I mean, people tell me now he's working 24 hours a day. I never believe it. I always remember we'd start training of a morning, and he used to say to me, Don, can we have a fun day today? Which he meant, can we be easy today? And I used to look at him and say, George, you know, we got to do it. We got to win on Saturday. And he used to look at me and just get on with it.
Well, he must wear two heads, because when I see him, he's just the same guy again, you know. And but when he's in the club, obviously he's very disciplined himself. He's always immaculately dressed. He's doing a smashing job here, and he's done a good job at Millwall, and he's well on his way to be a top manager.
I don't think ever any of us who played alongside George ever saw George really as being a manager at one time. And yet, when I say that, on the field of play, if things were going particularly badly, when people would perhaps start to panic, there was never a sense of panic within him. He always seemed to be in control of himself on the field. He was always able to give advice there. When he walked in a room, people seemed to look up to him. He had that presence about him then. And I think that's carried over into his management.
When he gets a problem, I bet he's first to
Yes,
go on the telephone.
we have a little lunch and a teach-in and full
That's right.
marks.
Aye.
I'm delighted to do it and delighted to help him. But I wouldn't take it on a direct relationship basis. I'd philosophise on it, and he'd then apply it to the problem he's got.
I tell you what, Bert, I mean, it don't know how old you are or how long you've been in the game. We all need a mentor, don't we?
Sure.
And it looks to me from distance as though you're his mentor.
Well, yes,
I mean,
I hope so.
We always go to somebody for advice, don't we?
Indeed. And
we
you
all
need
got-
somebody to talk the problem with.
And we all go to Uncle Bert.
Here in the dressing room, actually, is where it all happens on a Saturday, or a midweek if it's a midweek match. But really the hard work that's being put in really happens in the training ground. It's like being an actor. It's during the week, all the rehearsals on the stage, they work very, very hard, put the work in, and it happens on the performance on the evening. It's the same as a footballer. All the hard work, as far as I'm concerned, is in the training ground. Here, it's just the performance.
Okay, just relax a bit more, a little bit stiff. This time, the same again. All right, let's go. Look straight ahead. Straight ahead, come on, keep a grip of the ball. Don't look at the ball, Lee. You should know where the ball is. Anton. Look right, Kwame. Good boy. Look left. Just keep touching it, Lee. Well done. Get the old legs. Flex the legs a bit more, Perry. Flex the legs. Well done, David. Well done. And let's go. Outside and inside. Plenty of touches. Come on. No, Kwame. Take the ball with you. One more, Martin. One more. Go on, Martin. One more. Well done. And pass it in, Martin. Come on, Davo. Okay. You're just knocking it back. All right. It's not one of them. It's not one of them there. You're just letting your head go back 6 inches there. Okay, all the time. Couple more. Okay. Wait for it, Davo. Throw it harder, Davo. That's it. Lovely. Well done. Okay. And right back into their chest. Right back into their chest. Okay, let's go. Go on. It makes you a bit more lively. You know, you're very anticipated.
Well done, Bryce.
And you're standing like that. You're actually standing like that. You know, somebody can actually come round there and actually win the ball off you. So if you get your arms up and be more resilient. More resilient. If somebody's coming in there, you're knocking it back. You're screening the ball. Okay? Let's go. Come on, Connor.
During a game, I always sit upstairs in the director's box because I can see a total picture much, much easier when you're up higher. And at half-time, I've got 10 minutes to 15 minutes. If I've got any problems, I put them right, especially from the blackboard here. And sometimes you've got to sort of like G players up with a bit of a talking to. And other times you've got to lift players who are maybe going through a bad time, but you know their attitude's good and you know they need to be lifted. So you've got to be really an amateur psychologist. And hopefully what you've actually seen in the first half and what you've actually put over to them at half-time, they will then transfer that onto the field of play. That's when I sit down in the second half with my other coach and the physiotherapist. And then if there's anything that's going wrong on the pitch in the second half, then I can put it right, being on the touchline. After the game, then I come in and I say, well done, lads, if we've done well. If we've not done well, I more or less tell them. Win or lose, there's always good points to bring out individually, where a player can improve. Don't be satisfied if you win a game and you've been mediocre. You know, have standards. Play to the maximum of your ability individually and collectively. And if I can get my team playing to as near their capabilities consistently over a season, I would usually be a satisfied person, knowing if you do that with talented individuals and a talented team, you should be on the verge of winning things.
All that stuff that he learned, all the things he took in, he's using them very wisely now. I'll say this, I think that, and I wouldn't have to take anything away from him, I think he's been very lucky. He's gone into a fantastic setup. It's all there for him. And here again, don't get me wrong, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I know what he went into. I mean, I was there the 2 years before he took over, and I know what I had to do to get the club what I thought on the straight and narrow.
I think the main thing that he did when he came in was he installed a discipline, directness. People knew what he wanted, People knew what he wanted from them, and if he didn't get it, quite simply, he was going to change it. But he didn't change. Everything was exactly the same. Just came in, did what he had to do, and got on with it.
At the start of 88-89 season, my expectations really were I'd hoped the team would gain more experience, because half my side are still very, very inexperienced. And my new signings, namely Dixon and Bold from Stoke City, it was their first season in the first division at this level. And also with Winterburn playing his first season, replacing Sampson. I was hoping we'd have enough experience to challenge for the championship. With a tremendous first game against Wimbledon at Wimbledon, which is always a difficult place to go to, winning 5-1, and I think that made everybody sit up and take notice of it. And after that performance, I was really very optimistic. Again, in football, it brings you right back down to earth again. We were first game at Highbury, losing to Villa 3-2, and then we set the stall out. And from then up to Christmas, I think we were by far the best team in the division, playing wonderful football.
Winterburn. Statham. Oh, the bounce deceived in there. Over comes across Smith with a header. Oh my word! 2 goals in a minute. Rocastle. Picked up by Hayes. Stopped by Strodder. Oh, there's bodies everywhere as Hayes bursts forward. Alvin Martin's there. Can he stop him? Hayes to Thomas. Thomas shoots. That's it. He buries it under McKnight. Clinical finishing that.
Marwood's kick. Bold again. Here's Adams. Oh, yes, that one will do. The same old move, and it's caught Coventry out again. Certainly he was in a good goal-scoring position with his first touch. Here's Alan Smith again for Arsenal. Good spell by them. The cross coming in. And it's in there! Again looking for a second and coming inside the defence. Oh, very lazy challenge, and he's still there and he's made it! 6 minutes into the second half. It's Paul Merson 2, Middlesbrough 0. Now Smith wins that one and finds Marwood, and he finds Merson. Oh, and that's 2. Nice build-up and fine finish by Paul Merson. And Andy Gray caught out by Richardson's challenge. Marwood to clip it back in. Spink's punch and Rocastle. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's in. David Rocastle.
We never ever felt that Liverpool wouldn't be there or thereabouts. But again, the rules remain just the same. George changed the tactics. We decided to play with a sweeper system for a little while. It was effective. We took a lot of stick because people thought it was a defensive way of approaching the job, and we would fail miserably again. We hadn't bought the big players. We hadn't bought Cotty. We hadn't bought McAvenny. And we hadn't bought anybody that had come available. We stuck with the young players here. But the young players here gave us the thing I think that George is looking for.
After losing to Derby 2-1 at home, and then the very next game, drawing against Wimbledon, it was really up. It was backs against the wall then. Everybody outside Highbury didn't give us a chance. We then had to go to Anfield and beat them by 2 clear goals.
The week of the game, everyone knew we had to go and beat them by 2-0, and everyone was putting everyone under pressure. People were ringing me up saying, do you feel the pressure in that? And to tell you the truth, I've never felt so relaxed for a game. The training sessions were just the same. If anything, the lads mucked about even more in training. And it was just a relaxed feeling amongst the players. And we went up there on the Friday. We had a lunch, had a good laugh, went to bed for a few hours, Kit. And then the gaffer said before the game, well, lads, all you got to do is beat them 2-0. And we looked at each other and we said, yeah, that's all we got to do, might as well go for it.
We all believe within the club we had a tremendous opportunity. We had a game plan. The team talk now, if I could script it couldn't have been any better. Had a chat with the boys in a Liverpool hotel before the game. Told them that we mustn't let them score, because if they scored 1, it meant we'd have to score 3 and possibly 4 to beat them. Which I knew was going to be a tremendous uphill struggle. But I also knew that if it was 0-0 at half-time, I'd be satisfied, although I'd prefer it to be 1-0. So although Liverpool, I'm sure, were quite contented at 0-0 at half-time, we could then be released in the second for 45 minutes, you know, really give it everything we've got. And I says to the boys, if we could actually score in the first 15 minutes, we'd actually have another 30 minutes until we get the second goal. And if we got the second one within the 30 minutes, I honestly believe Liverpool would have to come out and attack us. And I honestly believe we'd get the third goal. So really, I thought we'd score 3. I tell people that now and they still don't believe me, but that's what it says in the team talk. But to go up to Anfield and beat, you know, the best footballing side in the country over the last 10, 15 years, tremendous side. And to go up there and do it, the 2 clear goals was, I think, a tremendous achievement. I would think you've got to be dedicated to any managerial job, whether it be Arsenal or Millwall. You've got to be very single-minded. You've got to want to be successful. You've got to be probably a little bit ruthless.
Not really changed. I'd say he's got more ruthless, but that's how you've got to be a manager. And if you want to win things, you've got to be ruthless sometimes.
It's a very selfish job. You're really after your own interests and your family comes second. That's one of the problems.
You've got to enjoy your work. And unfortunately, things suffer. Your domestic life can suffer. You've got to have a very, very understanding family. But at the end of the day, you've got to go for it. And some things definitely suffer in football life because it is a very unsociable job, but a very, very rewarding one. When I was a player at Arsenal, I could never envisage managing the club. But to actually manage them now, won a trophy my first year, won the championship my 3rd year, it's like a fairy tale. But I think the fairy tale will continue for the next few years because we've laid a wonderful foundation here.
The qualities are there that we had in 1971. Great team spirit, a lot of discipline, players working for each other, unselfishness between the players and not a sort of a star syndrome that some clubs have. And that's what Liverpool have got too. So they're very similar to what we were in 71 and they're very similar to what Liverpool are doing now.
I'd just sort of like to welcome all the new trainees. At this club we've always had a great relationship, Brian, with the kids and the first team lads, and it's been good the last 3 years and I want that to continue. Very important. It's been a nice little team spirit, family spirit at the club. I'm sure the youngsters appreciate it, so make sure we look after them, all you pros. The other thing is fines. Again, let's keep it the same as last season, and anybody who's late they'll get 1 life, and after that it's a tenner. You've got the choice. It's either a tenner or 10% of your wages. Now again, I'll give you, if it's done in that week, I'll give you to the end of the week to pay the tenner. If you don't pay the tenner by the following week, I'll just tell Sheila, and she'll just take it out, 10% out of your wages. Not a tenner, 10%. Summary of the last season, Nigel. Great season, won the championship, tremendous. Unfortunately, we got knocked out in the cups early on, but I'm sure we can put that right this year. The target this year is to do as well. Okay? It's going to be difficult. We're there to be shot at by everybody. But I'll tell you something, if we can sort of like just improve on certain aspects of our game from last season, there's no reason why we can't sort of like be challenging for not only the championships, but for the cups this season. We're now up there. We're there to be shot at. We're there to be beaten. That's the most difficult one. We've now got to sustain it. I don't want to be known as an overnight success. I want to sort of do it over a period of time. I want more trophies. I'm greedy. I'm demanding. And I'm sure everybody at Arsenal knows that. And I'm sure, although they may not like me, they respect me. And they want to be associated with the success too.
What?